For nearly 80 years, American sea power has been defined by one symbol: the aircraft carrier, a 100,000-ton sovereign airbase packed with jets, escorts, and the unmistakable presence of a floating city. Impossible to hide, impossible to mistake, a loud declaration of U.S. might. But while the world kept its eyes on the carriers, the U.S. Navy was quietly building something else. Something that doesn't just operate quietly, it operates invisible. No crew to feed, no radar emissions to detect, no radio chatter to intercept, just a distributed web of autonomous machines lying in wait. China has invested billions in so-called carrier-killer missiles, the DF-21D and DF-26, designed to target large, obvious American capital ships long before they get close. These weapons are the backbone of Beijing's anti-access/area denial strategy, or A2/AD, a doctrine built to keep U.S. forces far from key Pacific flashpoints. But there's a flaw in the plan. You can't target what you can't find. And Beijing is discovering that its entire strategy is far less effective against a force built to avoid detection altogether. Today, we're revealing the U.S. Navy's emerging dark mode Armada, from Project Overmatch, the laser-linked nervous system connecting the fleet, to the Orca submarines quietly delivering autonomous weapons, to the hellscape doctrine intended to drown an invasion in unmanned chaos. This is warfare that doesn't look like war, and it isn't coming. It's already here. Before we get into the ships and submarines themselves, we need to understand the nervous system that links them, the hidden architecture that makes the entire dark mode concept possible. Project Overmatch. Here's the fundamental problem. In modern naval warfare, activating your radar is like lighting a flare in the middle of a battlefield. It's called the lighthouse effect. The moment your radar sweeps the horizon, you're broadcasting your exact position to anyone with even modest electronic surveillance equipment. You may see the enemy, but the enemy sees you first. Near-peer adversaries like China and Russia have extremely sensitive direction-finding systems capable of triangulating a ship's position from a single radar pulse. They don't need to detect your hull. They just need to hear your electronics shout into the electromagnetic spectrum. And once you're found, you're targetable. So the U.S. Navy often operates under EMCON, emissions control. That means shutting down radar, radio transmitters, and anything else that could give away a ship's location. You go quiet. You go dark. But historically, going dark also meant going blind. You couldn't coordinate. You couldn't share sensor data. You couldn't fight as a team. This is where Project Overmatch comes in. It's the Navy's contribution to the Pentagon's broader JADC2 initiative, Joint All-Domain Command and Control. Think of it as a classified effort to connect the fleet without radiating signals that reveal the fleet. The breakthrough is free space optical communications. Instead of blasting out radio waves that anyone can intercept, ships exchange data using laser links, tight beam, narrow spectrum communication that travels directly from one platform to another, or from ship to satellite. Picture it this way. Radio is shouting with a megaphone in a crowded room. Lasers are whispering in sign language across the dark. Only the intended recipient sees the message. To everyone else, even those nearby, there's nothing. Because the beam is so tight and directional, the enemy can't detect it unless they're physically sitting inside the path of the laser. They can't jam it. They often can't even prove the communication happened. And it doesn't stop there. The Navy is also developing LPI/LPD waveforms, low probability of intercept, low probability of detection. These are ultra-faint, highly dispersed radio signals designed to blend into natural electromagnetic noise. To hostile sensors, they don't appear as a transmission at all. They look like static. Here's what that means tactically. A Ghost Fleet unmanned surface vessel is drifting dark in the South China Sea. No radar signatures, no electronic emissions, just passive sensors quietly scanning the horizon. It picks up the heat plume of a Chinese destroyer 50 miles away. It doesn't switch on a radar. It doesn't take a targeting lock. Instead, it sends a laser burst across the waves to a U.S. destroyer sitting 100 miles away, safely outside enemy detection range. The destroyer receives the data, generates a firing solution, and launches an SM-6 without ever breaking EMCON. No radar lock, no warning, no setup. The enemy's first indication of danger is the explosion. This is the silent kill, and it rewrites the opening moves of naval combat. Now let's turn to the ships themselves, the surface vanguard of this dark mode armada. The program the Navy calls Ghost Fleet Overlord. For years, the Navy has been quietly testing unmanned surface vessels, but most people never noticed because these craft don't look like warships. They resemble commercial supply boats, ordinary, almost forgettable, until you understand what they're designed to do. The story begins with Sea Hunter, a trimaran drone ship built specifically to operate without a crew. When it completed its autonomous voyage from San Diego to Hawaii and back, navigating international waters, avoiding traffic, following maritime rules, it proved a simple truth: unmanned ships can handle the open ocean. Then came Ranger and Mariner, two commercial fast supply vessels repurposed for autonomous experimentation. The Navy stripped out the crew spaces, packed the hulls with sensors and advanced autonomy software, and sent them on long-distance trials. They've logged tens of thousands of miles, including cross-continental voyages from the Gulf Coast to the Pacific, almost entirely under autonomous control. But everything changed in May 2024, when the Navy unveiled Vanguard, the first purpose-built large unmanned surface vessel. Unlike its predecessors, Vanguard isn't a retrofit. It's a warship designed from day one to operate without sailors. There's no bridge, no bunks, no mess hall, no concessions to human life at sea. The internal volume is devoted entirely to sensors, fuel reserves, electronic warfare equipment, and weapon carrying capacity. Vanguard is essentially a 200-foot unmanned warship built to stay on station for months. Deep inside contested waters, no crewed vessel could safely enter. If it gets hit, there are no sailors to lose, no political cost, no rescue mission, just a financial write-off and a replacement vessel waiting in the queue. But the most transformative shift isn't the hull. It's what the hull can carry. In September 2021, the unmanned ship Ranger conducted a groundbreaking demonstration. Technicians placed a single shipping container on its flat deck. Not a missile silo, not a turret, just a standard 20-foot cargo container. Inside it was the Mark 70 payload delivery system, and inside that was an SM-6 missile. Ranger launched the SM-6 successfully. Think about that. A container that would normally hold tools or spare parts was now a vertical launch cell able to fire one of the Navy's most versatile weapons, capable of engaging aircraft, cruise missiles, and even certain ballistic missile threats. The implications are enormous. A traditional destroyer or cruiser is instantly recognizable. Its sensors, radars, and weapons leave no ambiguity. But a shipping container? There are over 25 million of them in circulation worldwide, sitting on commercial ships, barges, and docks. With containerized launch systems, any flat-deck vessel, manned or unmanned, can become a hidden missile platform. A navy of disguised warships suddenly becomes possible. For an adversary like China, this is a targeting nightmare. Satellite reconnaissance can easily classify a destroyer, but a converted commercial ship carrying containerized weapons looks just like every other merchant vessel crowding the Western Pacific. To defend against this, China would need to assume every container ship might be armed, but they can't waste precious anti-ship missiles guessing. This is the strategic power of containerized lethality. You don't need to hide the missiles, only the containers. But the most unsettling part of the dark mode armada isn't what you can see on the ocean surface. It's what moves beneath it, slow, patient, and silent. Meet Orca, the US Navy's extra-large unmanned undersea vehicle, or XLUUV. Built by Boeing, Orca is essentially an autonomous mini-submarine roughly the size of a city bus, about 85 feet long, with a displacement measured in dozens of tons. And like its surface cousins, it operates without a crew. Its range, estimated at more than 6,000 nautical miles, gives it true transoceanic reach. Orca can deploy from Pearl Harbor, cross the Pacific largely submerged, execute a mission near the first island chain, and return home without ever requiring a mothership or forward base. It runs on a hybrid diesel-electric system. When its batteries run low, it surfaces briefly in remote waters to recharge using a diesel generator, then vanishes back beneath the waves. No port calls, no maintenance stops, no supply lines, just a robotic submarine operating on months-long endurance. The heart of Orca is its 34-foot modular payload bay, capable of carrying up to 8 tons of mission equipment. That bay can hold surveillance packages, mine-laying systems, or even future undersea weapons. But the payload making the biggest strategic impact right now is the Hammerhead mine. Hammerhead isn't a classic naval mine. It's more like a trapdoor with a torpedo inside. Orca creeps into contested waters, approaches a choke point, a harbor entrance, a strait, an undersea approach, and releases Hammerhead systems onto the seafloor. Once deployed, they power down and listen. Inside each Hammerhead is a lightweight torpedo and an acoustic sensor suite able to detect and classify passing submarines by their sound signature. Days pass, weeks, maybe months. Then a Chinese Type 093 Shane-class submarine crosses overhead. The Hammerhead recognizes the acoustic fingerprint, activates, and launches the encapsulated torpedo upward. The weapon hunts the target automatically. No radio signals, no human confirmation, no external communication that could give away its position. It executes its mission based entirely on pre-programmed rules of engagement. Now look at the larger strategy. China's entire A2/AD posture is designed to keep US forces out of the Western Pacific, to push the American Navy farther from the fight. But Orca flips that logic on its head. Instead of being denied access, the US can deny access to them. By seeding key naval approaches with autonomous Hammerhead systems, the US can transform contested waters around Chinese naval bases into high-risk zones. Submarine egress becomes unpredictable. Surface ship movements become constrained. And clearing these mines becomes nearly impossible, because China won't know where they were placed, how many exist, or whether Orcas are still in the area. You can't clear a minefield if the minefield keeps moving. This is autonomous undersea warfare. And while Orca is still maturing, the Navy has already begun receiving the first operational prototypes, meaning the era of unmanned submarines isn't coming. It's here. Until now, we've talked about machines, airborne, surface, and subsurface. But the real revolution isn't the hardware. It's the invisible nervous system connecting them. This is Project Overmatch, the US Navy's classified effort to build an AI-driven battle network that can fuse intelligence, assign targets, and coordinate strikes faster than any human command structure ever could. For years, it existed mostly as a whisper, sometimes mentioned in budget documents, occasionally referenced by admirals, but never explained in detail. What we do know is that Overmatch aims to link every sensor, shooter, and platform, manned or unmanned, into a single self-updating web of information. A drone spots a target, a destroyer sees it too, a satellite records enemy movements, submarines receive the data instantly, an unmanned ship detects radar emissions, strike aircraft adjust course automatically. Think of it as turning the entire US fleet into one organism. Early demonstration events gave glimpses of what's coming. Navy drone ships passed targeting data to F/A-18S. F-35s shared sensor tracks with destroyers. Artificial intelligence tools helped deconflict strike packages and recommended which platform should take the shot. All of this is part of Overmatch's core vision, compressing the kill chain from minutes to seconds. In a conflict against China, that speed becomes decisive. Beijing's military planning is built around saturation, overwhelming US forces with missile barrages, drone swarms, and layered defenses. Their assumption is that American commanders won't be able to process information quickly enough to respond. But Overmatch is designed to break that assumption. Instead of humans manually directing every engagement, AI tools will sort data, evaluate threats, and suggest optimized responses. Commanders still make the final decisions, but the AI handles the chaos. Now add unmanned vessels into this network. A Ghost Fleet ship detects a planned destroyer's radar sweep and uploads the data. An MQ-4C Triton drone confirms the track. An underwater Orca reports acoustic activity near a shipping lane. Overmatch fuses all three into a single picture, ranks the threat, and forwards a recommended course of action to the nearest F-35 or missile platform. What once took a chain of radio calls, human interpretation, and manual plotting can now happen automatically, across thousands of miles at machine speed. China has studied American command and control for decades. They built weapons designed specifically to blind, jam, and paralyze US communications. But Overmatch attacks that strategy from another angle. Even if some nodes are jammed or cut off, the system can reroute data through other paths. Instead of a tree, the network behaves like a web. Destroy one thread, and the rest remain intact. And here's the most important part. Overmatch isn't a distant prototype. The Navy has already fielded early versions on multiple carrier strike groups, testing them across the Pacific under real operational conditions. It's still evolving, still classified, still undergoing live experimentation, but it is no longer theoretical. Project Overmatch is quietly rewiring American naval warfare. And once the unmanned fleet grows, this AI backbone will be the thing that turns dozens of scattered robots into a coordinated lethal machine. And now we reach the most unpredictable, most explosive part of this entire buildup, the piece that pulls everything together and threatens to rewrite modern warfare in a single move. It's called the Replicator Initiative. Launched by the Pentagon in 2023, Replicator is the Department of Defense's push to mass-produce small, smart, cheap, and many autonomous systems. Not a handful, not dozens, thousands. Airborne drones, surface craft, ground robots, swarming platforms designed to overwhelm enemy defenses through sheer volume. The concept is simple. Instead of relying solely on a few expensive, exquisite platforms, like carrier strike groups or high-end jets, the US would flood the battle space with large numbers of attritable systems. Aircraft that cost hundreds of millions can't be risked in certain environments, but drones that cost $30,000 to $200,000 each, they can. In 2024 and 2025, the Pentagon began accelerating contracts with companies that specialize in loitering munitions, short-range reconnaissance drones, and autonomous teaming platforms. The specifics are heavily protected, but senior defense officials have repeatedly emphasized three mission types: surveillance, strike, and electronic warfare. All at scale. Imagine dozens of kamikaze drones loitering at different altitudes. Imagine hundreds of micro-UAVs mapping enemy radar frequencies in real time. Imagine autonomous surface craft moving like a school of fish. Fast, confusing, impossible to track individually. Then imagine all of them feeding their data back into Project Overmatch, allowing the Navy's AI to assemble a live, constantly updating picture of an entire coastline or naval formation. This is swarming warfare, and the US is pushing to operationalize it before its adversaries do. The strategic impact is enormous. China has built its military strategy around the assumption that the US depends on a limited number of high-value assets: carriers, bombers, guided missile destroyers, systems that are powerful but also vulnerable to anti-ship missiles and saturation attacks. But Replicator flips the logic. The United States doesn't need to match missile for missile or drone for drone. It simply needs to make the cost of defense unbearable. A battery of Chinese air defense missiles can intercept a handful of targets at once, but not 100. A radar system can track multiple aerial objects, but not a sky full of autonomous aircraft approaching from every angle at different speeds. A warship can fire interceptors, but it cannot stop a swarm without revealing its location and depleting its magazine. And that is where Replicator becomes a strategic nightmare. It forces an adversary to choose which threat to handle and which ones to ignore. Add this to Ghost Fleet Overlord on the surface. Add it to Orca beneath the waves. Add it to Project Overmatch, weaving everything into a single nervous system, and the picture becomes clear. The United States isn't just adding new weapons. It's building an integrated kill web that grows more dangerous as it expands. A web where expendable drones overwhelm defenses, autonomous ships push into contested zones, undersea robots shape the battle space, and AI ties the entire attack chain together. And all of this is being tested, refined, and fielded right now. Replicator isn't science fiction anymore. It's the final piece of a strategy built not just to compete with China, but to out-innovate it at a pace Beijing never expected. The US Navy is pivoting, from a fleet of few massive ships to one of many, distributed and invisible platforms. From overt power projection to stealthy, lethal presence. For decades, American naval supremacy was defined by carriers, 100,000-ton floating fortresses, backed by 90 aircraft and thousands of sailors. Visible from space, unmissable, a symbol of raw power. But the future looks very different. It's a dark ocean where you cannot tell which vessel is crewed and which is autonomous, where a shipping container could hide a missile instead of consumer goods, where a submarine no one is piloting silently lays mines in enemy waters. The enemy knows where our carriers are. Satellites can track them. Kill chains can be built around them. But they cannot locate the Ghost Fleet. They cannot distinguish a commercial vessel from a warship. They cannot detect laser communications. They cannot hunt an Orca lying in wait on the seafloor. This is the dark mode Armada, a fleet that operates in electromagnetic shadows. A fleet that strikes before you even know it's there. A fleet that turns every ship in the ocean into a potential threat, forcing the enemy to waste time, resources, and lives guessing which targets are real. While analysts debate numbers of destroyers or cruisers, they are missing the point. The fleet isn't shrinking. It's evolving, smaller, quieter, deadlier, and infinitely harder to counter. The question now is simple. Are unmanned systems the future of naval warfare, or are we placing too much trust in AI? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And for more deep dives into the technology reshaping modern combat, hit subscribe. More revelations are coming. Stay informed. Stay ahead.